Well, Green Bay police are still investigating today after reported threats referencing a possible school shooting at two Green Bay high schools.
3 students are identified as persons of interest. Authorities determining those threats were not credible. The investigation, though, still ongoing tonight. Emily Byer joining us live in Green Bay with what we know now. Emily.
Yeah, Cami and Bill, officials are not able to release many details at this time because of the 3 minors involved, but we know that this all unfolded thanks to a tip from a student. In the middle of the night, Green Bay police say they were made aware of a possible threat of a school shooting at Green Bay West and East high schools. We don't know the specifics of the alleged threat, but we know it was made in general towards the schools. A student reported to a parent that they heard something concerning. Green Bay police and school staff both praising that student for reporting this. Authorities working with Green Bay area public school officials, determining the threat was not credible. Police talking with us today, stressing the importance of having a conversation with your children about the potentially severe consequences of making threats.
I hope that parents take this as an opportunity to speak to their kids, that even joking around, something as simple as, goofing around about it or talking about this school shooter, every time we get something that is a potential or kids talking about it or goofing around about it, we look into that. And the consequences can be devastating academically and criminally.
And right now, because the people of interest are all minors and the investigation is ongoing, there is little officials can release on possible criminal charges. But according to state law, in some cases, they could face a felony charge or even jail time. Reporting live in Green Bay, Emily Byer, Action 2 News.